Stoic techniques to cure anxiety. Name your anxieties. Anxiety is overwhelming and ambiguous. It can be so profound as to leave us immobile. Doubt, uncertainty, fear, worry, pressure, nervousness. They swirl around inside us, and we don't know what to do about it. We don't know where exactly it's coming from. We don't know when or if it will go away. Seneca's line was that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Marcus said to lay things bare and strip away the legend that encrusts them. If given free rein, negative thoughts and emotions will behave like uncaged beasts ready to turn on you. They'll stir your fears, rattle your emotions, and ruin your week. Stress, anxiety, and anger become chronic and debilitating when they linger and fester. They become what feels like an unbeatable enemy, unless you summon the strength to put them down by writing them down, tame them by naming them, and close the coral doors behind them. Live in the present. We all feel pulled to do more, to go more places, to make more progress. We are dogged by the constant worry we're in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, or rather there is somewhere else, somewhere better that we should be. It's a feeling that manifests not just in anxiety, but in guilt, envy, fear, insecurity to boot. Basically misery, the exact opposite of being content, happy, or grateful. Of being present. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Why do you think he mentioned the present and the present moment more than 20 times in Meditations? Each time he is saying, don't worry about the past, don't worry about the future, embrace what is in front of you right now. Be here now, he is saying. Don't be somewhere else, be here and be here well. Do what you're doing. Whether it's washing the dishes, sitting in traffic, or writing your thesis, be where you are. Whether that's with your kids or in a career transition or at the doctor's office, it's where you're supposed to be. In the right now, there is nothing else, just this. In the right here, the present is all there is. Put your impressions to the test. Every minute of every day, thoughts pop into your head about what's happening, about other people, about yourself, about what you see, about what you feel. What are you supposed to do with all these thoughts? Well, according to the core premise of Stoicism, the one thing you're not supposed to do is act on them immediately. Epictetus talks about stopping and putting every impression to the test. One of the wonders of your mind is the quickness with which it can comprehend and categorize things. We are constantly making split-second decisions. This subjectivity can be very misleading. It can warp reality itself, which is why we have to slow down, submit every impression to the test, confirm that everything we think and feel is true. What do you want? The anxious father worried about his children. What does he want? A world that is always safe. As Epictetus says, it's wanting something outside our control. Getting worked up, getting excited, nervously pacing, these intense, pained, and anxious moments show us at our most futile and servile. Staring at the clock, at the ticker, the next checkout lane over. At the sky, it's as if we all belong to a religious cult that believes the gods of fate will only give us what we want if we sacrifice our peace of mind. Today, when you find yourself getting anxious, ask yourself, why are my insides twisted into knots? Am I in control here, or is my anxiety? And most important, is my anxiety doing me any good? Do less. Here's a simple recipe for curing anxiety. It comes from Marcus Aurelius. If you seek tranquility, he said, do less. And then he follows the note to himself with some clarification. Not nothing less. Do only what's essential. Which brings a double satisfaction. He writes to do less better. Follow this advice today and every day. So much of what we think we must do, so much of what we end up doing is not essential. We do it out of habit, we do it out of guilt, we do it out of laziness, or we do it out of greedy ambition. And then we wonder why we are so anxious, or why our performance is suffering, or why our heart isn't really in it. Of course it isn't. We know deep down there's no point, but if we could do less inessential stuff, we'd be able to better do what is essential. We'd also get a taste of that tranquility that Marcus was talking about. A double satisfaction. Negative visualization. Sometime around the year 64 AD, Seneca's friend Lucilius sent him a letter. Lucilius was nervous about an ongoing lawsuit. We're not sure what the suit was over, but we know that it was a serious case and that Lucilius had made himself anxious about the outcome and had written to Seneca for some advice. Seneca's advice. Why are you borrowing unhappiness? Why would you be miserable now just because you might be in the future? Basically, he told him that what will happen, so stop being anxious. Negative visualization is not to make you worry, it's to eliminate worry. By being aware of all of the possibilities that lay before us, we can now proceed with our preparations. Who has time for anxiety? We should be fortifying ourselves for what may come. Why waste time preferring one outcome to another? We are ready for all of them equally. But what if the worst case scenario happens? Okay, that won't be fun, so let's enjoy the present moment while we still can. Rejoice in perfect stillness. Marcus Aurelius headed an entire empire. He had books to read, writing to do, laws to pass, cases to hear, troops to lead. He was a busy man. He, like us, was pulled in many directions. He had anxieties, worries, hopes, and dreams. Yet he speaks frequently and beautifully about taking moments of quiet and calm. If you can cut free of impressions that cling to the mind, he said, free of the future and the past, can make yourself, as Epictetus says, a sphere rejoicing in its perfect stillness. Have you ever had a moment like that? If you have, you know how special it is. You know what kind of insights you were able to access, how much happiness crept in, and how much anxiety crept out. Marcus wrote that taking these moments of stillness allows us to concentrate on living what can be lived a present moment. Only then, he said, can you spend the time you have left in tranquility and in kindness and at peace with the spirit within you. What these moments have in common, they are free of anxiety. The mind is clear, rejoicing in perfect stillness, as Marcus put it. You are free of the future and the past, fully present and locked in. Stop caring what other people think. We all want that quiet confidence that comes from being on the right path, as Seneca described it, and not being anxious or distracted by all those which crisscross ours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Stop caring what other people think. Stop caring what they do. Stop caring what they say. All that matters," he writes, "is what you do. Everything else is beyond your concern. You can let it all go. You can ignore it entirely. We find tranquility when we stop stressing about things we cannot control, whose influence we are impotent to constrain. We find tranquility when we narrow our focus, when we look inward, when we look in the mirror. When we still the uncontrollable passions in our heads, hearts, and bodies. Stillness, we said above, is the key to a better life. The bad news is that there is only one way to get it. The good news is that it's easy. You just have to stop. Stop caring what they think or say or do. Start caring deeply about what you do. Don't be materialistic. Even in his own time, Seneca was criticized for preaching Stoic virtues while accumulating one of the largest fortunes in Rome. Seneca was so rich that some historians speculate that major loans he made to the inhabitants of what is now Britain caused what became a horrifically brutal uprising there. His critics' derisive nickname for him was the opulent Stoic. Seneca's response to this criticism is pretty simple. He might have wealth, but he didn't need it. He wasn't dependent on it or addicted to it. Nor, despite his large bank account, was he considered to be anything close to Rome's most lavish spenders and pleasure hunters. Whether his rationalization was true or not is a decent prescription for navigating our materialistic and wealth-driven society, and the anxieties that come when money looms so large in our lives. The Stoics had a pragmatic instead of a moralistic approach to wealth. Marcus Aurelius once told the Senate that he did not regard himself in possession of any of his wealth. "It belongs to the people," he said. "Even the house I live in is not mine." There is a tranquility that comes when we stop thinking so highly of money, when we stop thinking money is so rare. It isn't. It is all incredibly common. Most of the people who have it are not impressive. Most of the great fortunes are, in fact, the opposite of great.